I personally have not bought any weapons outside of the state. If there are Panthers who want to go out and buy a weapon outside of the state, that's his business. We don't transport weapons across the line. I don't transport weapons across the line. If they are transported, I don't think it makes no darn difference. The Constitution of the United States still says a man has a right to own and carry a weapon. We do not farm arsenals. We distribute all our weapons, the weapons that come to this party, and get other people to buy their weapons. This is a part on the police department who announced this to the media to try and set Black Panther members up and other black people up in the community to try to arrest them for having arsenals. The guns that black people have and the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense has are distributed to black people in their homes for them to be able to defend themselves against any form of attacks by racism. They're raising a ruckus about black people having guns. Why don't they raise a ruckus about the racists who've had guns for over 100 years and been using them against us, black people, in our communities, murdering and lynching us?
His action was a political statement because he set the standard for all political prisoners. He took the only available avenue of redress against state murder. The state created the violent situation that exists in San Quentin today. The state gives itself the arbitrary privilege of taking life, the right to kill, capital punishment, sanctioned violence which leaves no room for redress. Redress of grievance is the contract between the people and the state in relationship to the laws of the land. People will respect laws that serve them and will tolerate those that they do not respect as long as there is an avenue for redress and change. Voting and petitioning and other civil actions are redress vehicles. But when capital punishment is legislated, the neutral relationship regarding life between the people and the state breaks down. The person being threatened with death by the state has no alternatives but to defend himself. All living things have an inalienable right to protect their own lives. Well, all these groceries, way over 6,000 bags of groceries, being given away free. Tomorrow night, the Black Panther Party has organized the whole conference, and tomorrow night at the Oakland Auditorium, that's Wednesday, tomorrow night at 6 p.m., we expect way over 6,000 people to come down and get their free bags of groceries, and also to register to vote. To unify the vote around the very concrete program, so that in the future the black community and other poor oppressed people in any kind of vote will be unified around concrete survival programs like this, so that the people won't be asked by the politicians to endorse them, but the politicians will have to endorse people's community survival programs, such as free food, because people got to eat every day.
This is a new approach for the Black Panther Party, isn't it?
It's not per se a new approach. It's some new kind of work. It's all related to our original vision, though, of the Black Panther Party over 6 years ago. You see, the Black Panther Party organizing this kind of operation really shows that we're implementing the original vision of the Black Panther Party.
There are a lot of grocery items still to be put into these bags, the biggest one being a fresh chicken. That'll be put in at the last minute tomorrow. The Black Panthers estimate that the value of each of these grocery bags is in excess of $10. Ed Arno for Eyewitness News in Oakland.
Brothers and sisters, peoples and human beings alike, it's good to see you here tonight. I hope many of you have decided, those of you who were not registered to vote, to go ahead and register to vote, because we're running a kind of revolution that involves our very lives, and it involves us building what we call people's power, starting in the heart of the black community, to the Chicano community, to the Puerto Rican community, even to the poor white community, all over this country, building people's power all over the world in unity with other oppressed peoples and other revolutionary peoples throughout the world.
Bobby Seale says at the end of this three-day conference, the party expects to have registered 10,000 new voters. If successful, 10,000 votes is a significant number to add to the black voters already registered in the East Bay. Isabel Duran, Eyewitness News in Oakland Auditorium.
I'm sure we tested over 4,500 people for sickle cell anemia last night, and I think that the voter registration is running neck and neck with it. I'm sure of that, because there's a lot of, it blew our minds, so many black people in the black community is unregistered to vote, from black youth to old people. And we think it's running neck and neck. That was last night. We'll see what we get out of here today. Maybe we'll get 2,000 or 3,000 out of here today. You can see the people out here. I guess we got 5,000 or more people out here. Now, we might have 6,000 people out here. I'm looking all around, but the point is, they're running neck and neck, sickle cell anemia and voter registration. The groceries, well, the groceries is out front. We counted up and found out last night it was 6,882 bags we actually gave away last night. So we rushed all that food in there. Now, the groceries is out front, okay?
Join you once, save Turkey, and call your game, save the city, stop violence.
It should be a visual of people going down peacefully to stand up and watch and wait and witness to the fact that Huey P. Newton better should be set free.
Will it be noisy? Will it be quiet?
I assume that it'll probably be quiet.
Well, which way would you like to see it go?
Which way would I like to see it go? I like to see it go one way. Regardless of what the visual represents, that Huey P. Newton is set free. Put it in that context.
Yeah. All right, I'll walk back now.
Hey, Charlie?
Oh, shit.
Stop and tap.
Watch out for my camera.
This is further harassment. Goodbye.
Bobby Seale and his wife are charged with illegal firearm and possession of a firearm that's been altered and conspiracy. The other 4 people arrested were charged with conspiracy also, and possession of a concealed weapon and possession of a loaded weapon in the city limits.
Is there a specific act involved in the conspiracy charges?
Well, I can't comment on that.
Could you say? What were they conspiring to do, Lieutenant?
They're charged with conspiracy to commit murder.
And you can't say beyond that who were they planning to murder?
No.
Where were they arrested?
The Seals were arrested at their home. The others were arrested on the street nearby.
Is there any indication of what they planned to do with the guns? Or did you seize guns in
We
the raid?
seized all of the weapons, that's right.
About how many guns were involved, or what kind of weapons?
Well, we can't give you any further information as to the facts of the case.
Now, you have been charged with, among other things, conspiracy to commit murder. Have they told you what or whom you're supposed to have planned to murder?
I haven't made no conspiracy to commit no murder against anyone. No one has told me. They told me I was charged with conspiracy. Now, no one's told me. This is the first time I'm hearing this now. I don't know what they're trying to prove. I know there's some charges concerning a 120, which, if I'm not mistaken, I remember in the penal code that's supposed to be dealing with a concealed weapon. Now, I don't see how in the world I'm talking about I got a concealed weapon in my home, in my house. And then some other gun charge of some type. But
Well, the other one is a charge of disfiguring or trying to hide the serial numbers on weapons.
I haven't disfigured or tried to hide a serial number on any weapon. I have an Army 45 in my home, and I leave that there in my home to protect me and my family in my home. And that's all. And they came in and went through my house and put guns on me, shotguns and pistols, and went through my house and come up with these erroneous charges.
Where were the other 3 people and the girl? Do you know?
I haven't. They're still here in jail. We're going to try to bail them out. I can't say exactly how and what happened and what went down in relation to them. I don't know when or the exact time they were even arrested. I do know they had left my home quite a while. I had even fallen asleep because I started hearing this knocking at my door and it woke me up. And now they got my wife up here on $11,000 charge of bail, or $11,000
It's just with a fair trial up there, and I feel that they just don't want Huey to have a fair trial.
Mr. Nafziger, what is there to prevent a group such as the Black Panthers from walking right into the governor's office?
As of today, very little. We hope to improve that situation in the next couple of days.
What do you intend to do?
I would rather not discuss that, but we are taking some additional security measures.
Any specifics in mind?
Yes, but I'm not going to talk about it.
Mr. Mulford, your bill, you held your bill back to strengthen. What do you have in mind?
Well, first, it's my intention to make it a felony to bring a loaded weapon into the state capitol. I think that the incident points out that, shockingly, that the laws are inadequate, but also serves to emphasize the fact that the laws are inadequate to protect the innocent public when bands of armed people, and let me make it perfectly clear, this has nothing to do with any racial incident, because in my testimony yesterday there were 5 white groups I discussed and 1 Negro group, but when bands of armed people with loaded weapons can move about our streets intimidating and frightening citizens, then I think we should act, and we intend to act.
Exactly what have you got in mind by way of legislation?
Well, there are 2 elements to the bill, although we held it back yesterday to re-examine it in the light of the intrusion yesterday. One is to make it a misdemeanor to have loaded rifles and shotguns and weapons in public places. And then, of course, with this new amendment, to make it a felony to have loaded weapons in the state capitol.
We would hope that we could pass more proposals of that sort. We would have to know what it is that people want first, and then we would be able to have proposals given to the city council from there.
Change.
The Black Panther Party have been feeding people and clothing people and feeding breakfast for children programs for over 2.5 years, and whether it's election time or not, this in itself indicates that we will be doing this beyond election time, but we'll be increasing the programs on a massive quantitative scale, and especially if we take seats in city council seats or poverty board seats of any kind.
Are these materials that will serve the interests of the people? For instance, programs for
council.
There's one proposal that was brought up last night, as a matter of fact, that after the new members were seated for the board, and that was to have a youth involvement program that would give drug counseling, medical care, psychiatric counseling, educational things like that.
California.
Are you pleased with the results of that?
Bible Conference, Saturday, June 24th at the Oakland Auditorium. The Black Panther Party, with many other groups and organizations, has organized another community survival conference with 10,000 free full bags of groceries, while at the same time pushing the voter registration drive forward by hopefully registering over 10,000 voters and administering free 10,000 or more sickle cell anemia tests.
No, I see it wasn't. I know it wasn't.
What was it?
The house was...
We sent 4 of our officers down in company with 5 Oakland officers, of course this being in Oakland, ultimately gained admittance, and in the search for the weapons used in our case, came across a large quantity of other arms, handguns, rifles, shotguns, sawed-off shotguns, machine guns, a hand grenade, a large quantity of ammunition, bulletproof vests, gas masks, radios, small quantity of marijuana, and some other form of narcotics. and also a blooded baseball bat.
The only reason that the Black Panther Party can see for this type of harassment on the type and arrest and absurd charges that the powers that be, the power structure, are out to discredit the Black Panther Party, especially myself and Elaine and others, because we have been quietly organizing some 3,000 precinct workers in the Oakland community for the next upcoming election 1 year from now, where we hope to support and also run candidates for 5 city council seats, which will be the majority control.
I understand it to be, as far as I'm concerned, I feel that we've had numerous arrests, and they're stacking up bail. This money is costing these members who are working to try to help free Huey.
Mr. Gay, have you been informed of any more detail about the charges against Mr. Sears?
I don't know any more than what Mr. Seale just told you, except that I believe that this is an effort on the part of the police department in Oakland and Berkeley working conjunctively to prevent and poison the atmosphere for Huey's defense.
Go around to the jail.
I'm stoked when it comes, Lou.
I know, I'm getting the chain, Ben.
That black people are saying that a political consequence is going to occur with respect to the Gestapo actions that's going down. That the political consequences are going to be related to a specific fact. We talk about self-defense against the pigs shooting us. Well, what about self-defense against them railroading us in jail and breaking in our homes simply and catching brothers and 40 cops on the run? What about right there? What about the fact that this is happening and other black people are seeing other black people saying they don't like it? They're saying we're going to have some more kind of tactics. Aggressive political consequence. That's what black people are saying.
Yeah, that's what's happening. Man, is the continuing battle of one's life. One loses a bit of manhood with every stale compromise to the authority of any power in which one does not believe. No slave should die a natural death.
Say something to these people so I can move back. All you brothers, I want you to move back. Move on back, all the way up in the grass. Court trial's over, move back. Court scene's over, move back.
Nothing will hold up in court. These are phony charges. You cannot barge into a man's home under the pretense that there's been a disturbance in the neighborhood and you're seeking inquiry and barge into a man's home, break into his home, and with guns drawn, tie everybody up, put them under manacles, and then search the house and put the house into a ramshackle.
Did Mr. Seale, in fact, have an automatic whose serial numbers have been altered?
No.
No, you're asking?
No, I never had such a weapon.
What any of the other people arrested, do they have
Look,
guns?
there were also noted information I found out there were other racists in the community working with the police department at that time. Now, as far as I'm concerned, if they said any said altering of numbers, they did it. And they're jiving. I think it's a whole bunch of trump up bull crap, and they're gonna bring this stuff to a head. We're not gonna have any more black people arrested on a bull crap pretense, the way the thing's gone down. Black people are going to come to a position where we're going to let this pig department, the racists here, know that we're not going for it, because we're going to defend Huey P. Newton whether everybody likes it or not.
Bob, they said... Warrant, Bobby. What? Did the police have a warrant?
They gave even never show. I asked them for a search warrant. We don't need a search warrant.
Did they confiscate guns from you?
They took my .45 that I have in my home to defend myself, that I keep in my home to defend myself.
The district attorney says that the conspiracy charge was the result of a phone call. Do you have any idea who might have made that phone call to the police?
I don't know. I don't even believe it was a phone call. I believe it was a bunch of crap and they just tried to arrest us and planned it out.
How about the sawed-off shotgun?
I don't have any knowledge of a sawed-off shotgun.
To many people, you have teamsters and other hired thugs singing on bullhorns in certain areas where grapes are being picked, singing to Mexican-American farm workers, bye bye Blackbird. You have people that are armed with weapons. You have all kinds of, you have a much more serious confrontation that is being faced. Everyone knows that the United Farm Workers Union has remained and has always been a nonviolent organization, and yet violence of that nature is being perpetrated against them. I think the situation is so serious that it calls for this kind of a move.
For several years now, Safeway has steadfastly resisted the demands of the United Farm Workers to sell only grapes picked by their union. Spokesmen for the pickets here say they are prepared for a long fight and will extend the boycott to 5 other Safeway stores in Oakland. Ben Williams, Eyewitness News from Oakland.
White producers don't relate to, because all they relate to is exploiting the black community, making $1.5 million to $10 and $15 million on these movies. They use the black community to make the movies in the first place. So why can't the black community at least get a percentage back? Like to all the 20 different survivor programs, they should get a percentage of the overall movie. If they make $10 million and they give 1 or 2%, that would be good, but they can give whatever percentage they want to give, but we say that that's what's got to happen.
Community.
A white producer owns this movie. We're tired of these white producers coming and making black movies, and then in turn are exploiting the black community. Also, the black extras who live in Oakland and Berkeley and around the area only getting $10 a day. They should be getting $50 a day. And we think a percentage of the movie should be left to the community survival programs in the black community.
When we went to the Capitol, we were there to deliver a message based upon our understanding of what racism is and how it's inflicted upon us in our communities here in America, and deliver this message to the world that we must arm ourselves, that we are in imminent danger, that the concentration camps in Tule Lake, in Arizona, and Oklahoma are now being rejuvenated, reset up for us, and we will defend ourselves. The Examiner made a report back here in the last Sunday's paper that we were anti-white, that we hold no bones, this is a quote, pick no bones about being anti-white. This is a bold-faced lie. We don't hate nobody because of their color. We hate oppression. We hate murder of black people in our communities. We hate the gross unemployment that exists in our communities. We hate black men being taken off into the military service. to be fighting for racist, decadent American promised us freedom. In the Civil War, 186,000 black men fought in the military service, and we were promised freedom, and we didn't get it. In World War II, 350,000 black men fought, and we were promised freedom, and we didn't get it. In World War II, 850,000 black men fought, and we were promised freedom, and we didn't get it. In the Korean conflict, the so-called police action, a war, we fought there, and we didn't get it. Now here we go with the damn Vietnam War, and we still ain't getting nothing but racist police brutality, etc. We are against oppression.
Black Panther Party Chairman Bobby Seale urged the group to return for the next court appearance and bring more friends along.
The legal proceedings this morning was simply a postponement of time. And I want you to understand this here. January the 16th, Huey will appear again for arraignment. We will appear here again twice as strong as we are now.
Once the legal technicalities are cleared away, then what promises to be a most explosive trial can finally begin. Gordon Graham reporting from Oakland.
I'm not allowed to speak with other inmates. I'm in a cell with a solid door similar to this one, only there's no opening whatsoever. It's about a 6 by 4.5 cell, and they're day in and day out, 24 hours. So the treatment has been very abusive, and as far as the attitude of the police, there's a hostile attitude. And just recently I was put on punishment for 15 days where I wasn't fed at all, only half a cup of a green substance that I couldn't eat. And this has been the treatment.
Why do you think it's happening?
The first place, that the police here are merely an arm of the establishment. Their purpose is to protect the establishment and punish those who disagree with the goals and the activities of the establishment. And so there's a necessary contradiction between what I stand for and what the establishment and their protectors stand for.
Huey, what's your impression of the demonstrators outside, who've been outside the courthouse every day since this trial began?
The people, the community that's given support to me have helped me to keep a high spirit. They are my inspiration. And without them, it would be impossible for me to keep the strength to go through this great ordeal.
Do you have anything that you want to say that hasn't been asked, Huey?
Only that I'm sure that we will be victorious. I have a very fine counsel, Mr. Gary, and the rest of the staff, and that I'm convinced and very secure in a victory.
Huey, have you been able to see just about anybody that you want to out of your family or your fiance? Have you been able to see them?
I'm allowed visiting 3 times a week, but even this is carried on as far as the police with a hostile attitude. They say abusive things to my visitors. They don't give the time that other prisoners get, and it's strictly a sort of a arbitrary kind of treatment, not only to me but to the other Panthers who are here in jail.
At this stage of the trial, how confident do you feel that you're going to get justice?
with the present system of the court structure, it will be impossible for me to get justice, but I'm confident that we will revolutionize this institution before this trial is over. If it's not revolutionized, if there aren't very great changes, then of course I won't get justice. But I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to make some changes in this institution.
Mr. Cleaver said yesterday, Huey, that the evidence, when it is shown, will be so overwhelming in your favor that any jury picked from these 47 would be embarrassed not to let you go. Do you feel this is right?
Yes, that I feel that America is embarrassed, period, not only with individual institutions, but the whole country because of the activities and oppressions of other people of color, such as the Vietnamese people and the Latin American people. So America has been able to bear her embarrassment up until this point, but because of world opinion, perhaps she will withdraw from the field.
Carmichael, do you see any change in atmosphere in the South? Do you think that we are approaching a more militant or revolutionary stage in the civil rights movement in the South?
Yes, I certainly think so. I think we're moving now into a political arena. And I think that what Negroes are now tampering in, what they're tampering with, will touch the entire country. To be very precise, for example, many Negroes who have registered to vote have been evicted from their lands in Lowndes County. People who have worked on plantations for 35, 40 years, because they've registered to vote, have been evicted. So that raises a philosophical question, not only for us, but for the whole country. Can property-less people be made as equal as property owners through the vote?
Do you think the formation of your party, the Black Panther Party, is perhaps contributing to the change in atmosphere and making it, in fact, more explosive?
Yes, I certainly think so, because this is the first time in the country that Negroes will be organized for their own political interest, and they will form their own party and move along those interests as they see fit. It is unlike Negroes across the country who are registered in the Democratic Party but are not organized for their own interest.
Now, what I don't understand is this. You are also a member of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. At the same time, you are organizing a group in the South which almost certainly will tend to contribute to violence, or at least counter-violence.
Well, they won't contribute to violence. They will just be seeking their political rights, and they will have to defend those rights. Now, they will defend it the way the country defends its own rights, the way we defended in Vietnam, the way we defended it in World War II, the way we defended it in World War I, the way we're going to defend it in the Dominican Republic, I imagine. They will defend it the same way, violently.
I would not have traveled all the way from New York to California to talk to Elvis Cleaver unless I thought he had some very new and exciting ideas to present for the benefit of all Americans, black, white, Catholic, Protestant, and Jewish.
What kinds of things will you be doing on his behalf?
I will be raising money. I've talked with the warden about the conditions in the prison for him. I made arrangements to be able to telephone, for him to be able to telephone me if he needs to talk with me. I will be getting the support of as many people in our community as I can to see that he ought to have justice. I am now convinced that that so-called shootout was actually instigated by the government, as many of the dirty things about Watergate were instigated by the government. And I do not intend to stand by and see what I consider a fairly innocent man prosecuted for something I don't believe he's done.
So we decided 3 weeks ago that we would form a patrol and start to stay on the backs of the police and watch every move that they make. And by doing this, we take photographers along with us and also ministers, and we will record everything that they do, and primarily together documents which probably will be used later on for an investigation. The police don't like what we're doing because we have been stopped and held for 1 hour, surrounded by some 6, 7 police cars, just for harassment, because the point is they didn't like the idea of us following them taking pictures of what they're doing. But we will continue on with it, the same as that they're doing in Berkeley and what they're doing in Watts with this patrol. If they can meet the white people in the hills with respect, then we should expect it here, and not only expect it, but demanding that we be treated like also citizens and human beings. And,